Chapter 7. The World-Famous Eating Competitor. "What do you mean he's not dead?" I questioned. "I felt his pulse. He had none. Detective Armand did CPR on him." "It's not to say that he was not dead," explained Tawny. "He was. My daughter Connie works as a nurse at the local hospital. The paramedics were able to get his heart beating again. It turns out he had a ruptured stomach from all the food he ate, and his body went into some sort of shock. He won first place, you know." "I guess that will help him with his medical bills," I murmured. "What about the needles in his throat?" "Oh, you mean the wire from a barbecue brush? They took those out," replied Tawny. The elderly woman always seemed to have the lead on all the gossip. She even had her granddaughter put an app on her phone that let her listen in on the local police scanner. They used a magnet to reach the ones they could. The rest should pass on their own. That reminds me of the time my son ate a bunch of those metal jacks from the game where you use the ball to pick up jacks. What's it called?" "Jacks?" I ventured. "That is it. Those pointy little spiked things were so nasty to accidentally step on," chuckled Tawny. "I was certain they were going to rip his insides apart. Well, the doctor told me to wait, and sure enough, all those jacks passed through the boy just fine. The doctor said it was rare for anyone to have complications for eating something sharp. Not that he advised doing such things on purpose, mind you." "Why would Jason Kennedy eat a bunch of wires from a barbecue brush?" I shook my head, unable to comprehend why anyone would willingly swallow dangerous objects. "Did Jason say anything about that?" "I don't think he could," shrugged Tawny. "He probably has to rest his throat for a couple of days. If you want, there are visiting hours at the hospital. You could ask him yourself." "I don't know." I set down my own cup. I doubt a world-famous eating contestant would want to talk to me, although I am glad that he is alive after all. "Aren't you going to investigate?" asked Tawny. I mulled over the idea of getting involved. I do have a campground to run. "I have a tea house to run. It is a lot of fun to insert oneself into the gossip," admitted Tawny, "especially an attempted murder." "We don't know that someone was trying to kill Jason," I cautioned. "You think he ate those wires on purpose? Why would he do a thing like that?" scoffed Tawny. "Maybe it was a world record thing?" I shrugged. Jason liked to brag about how many hot dogs he could eat. Maybe this was his next thing to chase fame. "I find that those who brag the loudest usually aren't as good as they say they are," advised Tawny. "Well, he's still alive, so it's not really my problem," I decided. "I only investigate if I choose to." "If you say so," Tawny gave me a knowing look. "Luca was over earlier today." "And what did the detective want?" I sipped the last of my coffee, trying not to be curious and failing. "He asked how you were," responded Tawny. "I think he may have felt sorry for his earlier remarks to you." Somehow I doubted from the way Armand had complained in the fountain yesterday. He was suddenly having a change of heart over our interaction. Armand lived right beside Tawny. If anything, Tawny was probably trying to smooth things over between us. She was a bit of a matchmaker, like many other senior citizens of the town. "It's true," reiterated Tawny at my disbelieving look. "He's very concerned about you and wanted to know if there was anything he could do for you." "He probably thinks I'm crazy." I slumped in my chair. "At least he's thinking about you instead of Lizzie," pointed out Tawny. I digested this as I finished my food. "Do you want some help with the dishes?" "Look at the time!" exclaimed Tawny as she checked her wristwatch. "I had better get to the tea house. Would you mind giving me a ride, dear?" "Sure." I grabbed my dishes, insisting on helping. Soon enough, I had my clean laundry in the car and was depositing Tawny at her tea house. On the way to the Happy Camper Resort, I found myself taking a detour to the Oaks Crossing General Hospital. It was unlikely that Jason Kennedy would see me, yet I decided to try. I blamed curiosity and my talk with Tawny Tilbury this morning. After all, if she and I hadn't gossiped about the subject, I would likely be at the Happy Camper Resort right now working on my own problems, rather than concerning myself with Jason's issues. The hospital was small. While I had been to the after-hours clinic in town, this was the first time I was at the hospital itself. It was easy enough to find the lobby. After speaking to the clerk, who happened to be a niece of B, I found out the room number for Jason. While it was not hospital policy to give out room numbers to unapproved visitors, B's niece thought that since I had solved 2 murders and found a missing cat, I should be granted some slack if I had decided to investigate what had happened to Jason Kennedy. It appeared I was getting a bit of a reputation. One that was a little bit deserved, I might add. I had found Winifred the missing cat. I had also solved the murders of Ethel Merle and Bart Baker. Who knows, maybe I would assist in finding out what had really happened with Jason Kennedy. Jason was awake when I came into his room. His posse were absent for the moment, something which I was grateful for. "Hello, Jason." He looked at me with a bit of confusion, then recognition lit his face. "Cupcake Queen of 2018. "That is right." I nodded as I sat down in one of the uncomfortable visiting chairs. "How are you doing? You collapsed right into my cupcake display."
"Did I?" a surprised Jason asked. "I'm sorry if I did that. I hope I didn't cause you any inconvenience."
"A little," I shrugged. I wondered if the medication he was on was making him so amenable and mellow. I just thought I would come by and see if you were okay.
"Well, my stomach took a beating," a pale Jason remarked. "Shouldn't have tried to eat so many wings. I was going for the world record of 501. I thought I had it in the bag. I had this new technique. I picked up the wings from these two really old nice guys because I liked their sauce. It wasn't too spicy or bland, you know, just the right heat level."
"The doctor did surgery on your stomach?" I asked to keep the conversation going.
"Says I can't compete anymore," groused Jason. "What do these doctors know? I'm gonna get an expert to look into it."
"That's probably a good idea," I agreed. "I thought you had insurance to cover your stomach if anything went wrong."
"I do," sighed Jason. "Only if it's in the normal routine of things or at eating competitions. I don't think ingesting metal is normal. I'll have to check with the insurance company."
"Where do you think the needles came from?" I carefully questioned.
"Needles? What needles?"
He frowned in confusion. "The ones in your throat when you collapsed," I explained.
"Those weren't needles," Jason answered. "They're barbecue bristles. Someone, likely those old dudes, cleaned their grill and somehow the wire bristles from the brush ended up in their meat. Too bad they were negligent with their cooking tools. I told the police all about it early today."
"Wow, that is a bad coincidence," I murmured.
"Tell me about it. This could end my career," lamented Jason, "just when I was about to get hot again."
"You were having a bit of a lull?" I quizzed. "I saw online that you hadn't taken a championship in a while."
"Competition world's gotten fiercer," he complained. "Thanks to the internet, everyone thinks they can do this. It's a real art. It takes dedication and training to become a champion, especially at more than one category."
"I believe you," I replied.
"I did place third a couple months ago," mentioned Jason. "Prize was barely spending money. I have to pay for travel, hotels, advertising, my coaching. It all adds up."
"Do you have another job besides food competition? One with benefits for the hospital bill?" I wondered. Jason had a derisive laugh.
"When would I have time for a job? This is my career. I'm a champion. All I need is a little time to get back on the podium. As for the hospital bill, I'll let my manager worry about that."
"You have a manager?" I was surprised. It was like Jason thought he was some sort of superstar. Maybe in the food eating world he was.
"Of course I have a manager," replied Jason. "Who else would book my competitions?"
"I see," I murmured. Jason sighed dramatically.
"I'm exhausted. I need my rest so I can heal in time for the next competition."
I took the hint. I said my goodbyes and hopes for a speedy recovery. As I drove to the Happy Camper Resort, I reflected that Jason was probably in a tight spot financially. It didn't appear that he was winning enough prize money to keep up to the lifestyle that he had become accustomed to. Nor was it likely that he had enough money for his ex-wife who was taking him to the cleaners, according to the articles I had read. I wondered who the two men who had supplied Jason with the wings that he had eaten. Jason had said that they were old, yet I didn't trust his opinion on that. He seemed the type to exaggerate. Like children who think that age 40 is ancient, or last week was eons ago. First, I stopped at the office, hoping that someone was manning it. I'd planned on being there most of the day with my bosties. It was cooler for them with two fans in the shade anyways. I found Conrad with a crossword at the desk. "Hi, Conrad. I didn't expect to see you here," I observed. "I thought you would be with Herb at the barbecue fest."
"We got disqualified," grumbled Conrad. "Whole bunch of bull, if you ask me."
"What do you mean?" I asked in concern.
"Someone said that some wire bristles from the cleaning brush accidentally got stuck in their wings," snorted Conrad. "How unlikely is that? In order for that to happen, I would have to cut off the wires and shove them directly into the meat. There's no accidentally about it."
"That was you and Herb," I said faintly, my stomach bottoming out.
They say so, Conrad let out a harumph. I gave the police our grill cleaning brush and dared them to find any bristles missing. I bought it new yesterday morning, along with a ridiculously priced barbecue from the handy hardware store. The grill was so clean it never needed any brushing. The whole thing is hogwash.
What happened? I questioned.
Conrad glowered. As of right now, the police just confiscated our equipment as evidence. Herb and I have been told not to leave town.
Are the police going to charge you with anything? I wanted to know.
They haven't yet, groused Conrad. If Jepson has anything to say about it, they won't.
Jepson Gray was an 80-year-old retired lawyer who occasionally helped those he liked. He had helped get Molly and I out of jail last month. It was a silly incident where Molly and I hadn't even been charged with any crime. In return, I had given Jepson some baked goods. Conrad, this is serious.
It sure is, noted Conrad. The Oaks Crossing Police Department is full of fools. We need a better police force. I plan on telling Mayor Whitcomb that at the next mayor race debate.
What did Jepson say when you told him what happened? I inquired. While he might be old, Jepson was not lacking in the facilities department. He would know if a case could be built against Herb and Conrad.
The grill brush was new. There was no bristles missing. Besides, why would we want to hurt the guy? Shrugged Conrad. He paid a nice price for our barbecue wings and recommended us to others.
What did Jepson actually say? I repeated. Conrad sighed.
We gave Jason the wings. Our brush is missing no bristles. There was more than adequate time and opportunity for others to mess with the wings between us giving him the food and Jason consuming it. Jepson says they might try us for negligence causing bodily harm, but he will get it tossed for lack of evidence.
Good, I said in relief. How have things been at the office today?
Quiet until you came. Conrad gestured to his crossword. I almost have it finished.
Any complaints? I asked in trepidation. Conrad shrugged.
None worth worrying about.
My shoulders sagged a little. I was going to have to figure out this coupon thing. I didn't want to have bad reviews. Reviews could be the difference between someone choosing my campground or another place to rent during their vacation. Thanks, Conrad. Are you going to be here for a little while? I wondered.
Sure, grunted Conrad, penciling in another word. Nothing much else to do.
Okay, thanks again, Conrad. I gave him a wave as I headed back to my car. I made my way to the tenting area to find Topher. I felt a little guilty for having him look after Cupcake and Cookie the entire night while I was at Tawny's. The doggies could be a bit of a handful if you didn't know how to handle them. They needed their walks and playtime to get their energy out. I had thought about making a dog park area at the campground for all the dogs here. I felt that it would be an added attraction. I stepped around a cooler and approached Topher's tent. Hello, Topher? He's not there, another tenter helpfully supplied as they sprawled on the grass with a paperback in their hands. Oh, thanks. I looked at the book in surprise. Is that the Ghoulish Gravedigger? Yeah, nodded the guy, barely looking up. Some old lady lent it to me. She's got a library worth of crime novels. I'll bring it back when I'm done. Her name is B, I informed the tenter. Hey, you wouldn't happen to know where Topher went, would you? Think he went to the barbecue fest, the guy said with a shrug. Great, I sighed. Do you know what he did with Cookie and Cupcake, the 2 Boston Terrier dogs he had with him? Took 'em with, I guess. Again, the shrug was about the only response as he continued to read. Okay, thanks. I left the tenting area, noting one spot that had a lot of litter. I called out to the tent, but no one was currently there. Making a mental note to follow up with that person, I grabbed a bag from my car and cleaned up the trash before heading back to my camper. I dropped off the trash and my laundry. Deciding I should find Topher and my dogs, I headed back to Oaks Crossing. Finding a parking spot was terrible. It looked like half the town, plus the tourists, were all here. I managed to squeak into a spot near the crafty corner. Ava, the owner of the store, appeared to be very busy with a crowd of people inside. I gave her a wave through the front window before heading towards the barbecue fest. I had no idea how he was going to spot Topher in the crowd, and wondered at the wisdom of his bringing Cupcake and Cookie here for so many people. Aromas competed with one another as barbecues grilled. Marinated sauces were for sale in jars. There was a deep frying station where they could deep fry anything you wanted, from chocolate bars or ice cream to pickles or entire burgers. It was a food dream. I bypassed a vegetarian grilling station, trying to see through the crowd. "Excuse me." I carefully cut through a lineup of people waiting for a taste of barbecue chicken. Continuing down the aisle between booths, I could hear a voice announcing over the stereo system that the next food contest was about to begin.
"Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, have we got a treat for you?" the announcer said with enthusiasm. While the best grilled chocolate sauce winner was announced, we were getting ready for the hamburger eating contest. For the contest, contestants can only eat one burger at a time. They may have water in a provided cup, but no dunking of the burger allowed. Contestants can have condiments of their choice on their burger, but no veggies or cheese. The contest lasts 10 minutes, with the person who eats the most hamburgers as the winner. Last year's contest winner ate an astounding 22 burgers. My stomach rebelled at the thought. While I enjoyed eating, I was now about to stuff myself to the point of absurdity. All the more power to the people who chose to do the contest, I thought privately as I continued to scour the crowd. The announcer began to announce who the contestants would be. "We've got local favorite, Big Mike from Mike's Garage." The announcer paused as the crowd cheered. "Lady Lisa is a 2-time burger-eating champion and won last year." The crowd cheered again. "Hey, Ivy," came Topher's friendly voice. I swung around to find him. Relieved, I smiled. "Hi, Topher. I have been looking for you." Topher's smile got wider. "Cool. I was hoping to run into you here." "Where are Cupcake and Cookie?" I wondered. "I didn't think it'd be wise to bring them with all the people here," explained Topher. "I'd hate for one of them to get stepped on accidentally. I left them with Herb. Offered, and since he had puppy sat before, I thought it would be a good idea. Bee was going to join them while they go fishing." "Bee was going fishing?" I asked in surprise. "I think she was just going to keep Herb company," confided Topher. "She had one of her murder mysteries along." "Great," I nodded as thought that maybe I had found the reason Bee was taking a little more care in her appearance. Perhaps something was going on between her and Herb. I kind of liked the thought. "That is a good idea. Thank you for watching Cupcake and Cookie for so long. I hadn't been planning on staying away overnight." "No problem," shrugged Topher. "I enjoyed looking after the doggies. We played fetch and took a few walks through the forest after our shift in the office. It was fun." "Nice. Can I buy you lunch as a thank you?" I offered. I was going to give you some cupcakes, but they melted in the car. "Lunch sounds great," Topher readily agreed. "Starting to get hungry with all this food around." "And the world eating champion, Jason Kennedy!" the announcer shouted. I whipped my head around, trying to see the stage. Did they just say Jason Kennedy? He's supposed to be in the hospital. "Looks like they let him out early," noted Topher. "He ruptured his stomach in the last eating contest." I tried to push through the crowd of people so I could get a better look. Topher took my arm, pulling me back a little before taking my place. He easily pushed through the crowd, letting me follow him. Stepping out of the way, he brought me forward so I could see the stage which had been set up in the park for all the various competitions that were taking place. "He's crazy." I shook my head as I saw Jason Kennedy waving to the crowd before taking his seat behind a mountain of hamburgers on a plate.